Norah felt that here was her chance to make a go of music as a career. A whole new world was opening up for her, before her very eyes, a world of opportunity, possibility and adventure. The live bar and coffeehouse circuit proved more of a draw than another year of study. She went to hear exciting singer-songwriters performing their material at small venues like the Living Room and became entranced. This was what she wanted for herself, and there was certainly no going back.
Well, the college was very big band oriented, but I was gigging on the weekends in Dallas, playing at restaurants, playing solo gigs. And that's when I started singing while I was playing, because I was piano major, jazz piano major. That's sort of how I got my singing together.
With these newfound friendships and experiences, Norah grew in confidence and became extremely focused, gradually finding the inspiration to create and write her own lyrics. From December 1999, she performed regularly in local clubs with the funk fusion outfit Wax Poetic, who went on to sign a record deal with Atlantic. She took a waitressing job in the day and played bars at night, singing jazz standards for $50 a gig. The biggest crowd pleasers were the Sinatra numbers, though she made a point of avoiding playing the ubiquitous My Way. Norah lived, breathed, ate, slept and drank music. Nobody could mistake her obsession, her single-mindedness, her ambition and desire to maximize her musical capacities. When performing, she imbued each song, novelty and serious message alike, with the same amount of soul, energy and engaging charm. Here was the most natural of entertainers, taking evident delight in her ability to give pleasure to her audience and in their evident delight with her. Now able to draw upon a wide range of musical references and influences, Norah set about creating her own thing, moulding her own indelible stamp on her music. Performing immaculate versions of well-worn standards in clubs and bars would only get her so far. She realised that she had to take the next step, putting her own spin on her music and coming up with something distinctive, singular and alluring. At her 21st birthday gig in San Francisco, Norah was spotted by her future manager, a music industry accountant named Shell White, who was stunned by the quality of what she witnessed. Her husband was a friend of Norah's boyfriend and worked in the royalties department of EMI Records. White would later be pivotal in getting Norah signed to Blue Note. In 2000, Norah hooked up with local songwriter and guitarist Jesse Harris, whose forte lay with the songwriting, particularly lyrics. The two of them hit it off immediately and began working on songs together. Musically, they were in perfect synchronicity, searching for the same profundity of feeling in their music. Out of this collaboration grew expanding modes of simplicity and purity, allowing Norah's playing to flourish in an environment of melody, as opposed to the austere atmosphere of the lecture hall. Norah was now ready to take her music to another level.
I moved to New York about 3 years ago after doing 2 years of college. I didn't finish college. I just wanted to check out the scene in New York, and so I started playing jazz gigs. About a year into it, someone came and saw me play, someone who actually worked at EMI, and she thought she might introduce me to the president of Blue Note. She thought it would be cool. So I said, sure, whatever, and that's sort of how it all started.
The next stage was to recruit a proper band, an aggregate of musicians to perform with regularly. In the autumn of 2000, Norah assembled a fine supporting cast, consisting of bassist Lee Alexander, drummer Dan Reiser, guitarist Adam Levy, and axeman Jesse Harris. Each member clicked from day one, instantly establishing an empathetic musical framework for Norah to shine. Sought after by the legendary jazz label Blue Note Records in the fall of 2000, Norah and cohorts recorded a demo tape for the label in October. The record company was so impressed by the results that it decided to release the material as it was. The songs sounded crisp, pristine, perfectly formed and oozing soul. The 6-track EP entitled Norah Jones' First Sessions is a remarkable achievement. It fuses her natural jazz leanings with her burgeoning dedication to song arrangement, whilst swerving between folk, old country and R&B. Accompanied by Harris, Alexander and Reiser, along with supplementary guitar wizards Adam Rogers and Tony Scher, these recordings drip with skill, sophistication, sensitivity and grace. Eschewing schmaltz, sentimentality or commercial cynicism, each track shines with a magnificent charisma and unguarded charm so rarely found in contemporary music circles. It is here that Norah, at last, casts off the confining stays of her formal musical apprenticeship and is once and for all ready to give herself over to the unbridled joy of creating music. She has absorbed all the lessons that jazz had to teach her and is now prepared to transcend them with music which evades category or time and place. During the session, Norah recorded a tune she'd never played before by Blue Note jazz pianist and leader Horace Silver, entitled Peace. The result is bliss, a spontaneous eruption of joy and transcendence in keeping with the original freewheeling spirit of Blue Note and classic jazz. While making his way to a recording session for his Blue Note album, Songs from the Analog Playground, esteemed jazz guitarist Charlie Hunter and his band heard the first session's EP. Their manager had got hold of the tape and played it to a flabbergasted Hunter and pals. They resolved to find out who Norah was and tracked her down at the Midtown restaurant where she worked as a waitress. She was invited to hook up with the musicians down at their studio. Upon arrival, she was handed the lyrics to a Brian Ferry song called More Than This. She'd never even seen the words before, let alone heard the song. But the guys asked her to give it her best shot on the microphone. What ensued was nothing short of perfect chemistry, an idyllic symbiosis of singer, band and song. At the song's conclusion, Norah coyly asked if her performance was okay. For a minute, every band member remained speechless and rooted to the spot, hypnotised by her presence. They wasted no time in informing her that it was in fact okay, and then some. This performance led to further collaboration with Hunter and his band. Norah sang vocals on another piece off the Songs from the Analog Playground album, a sultry take on the Nick Drake classic Day Is Done. Her honeyed voice breathes beautiful colours over the canvas, adding a whole new dimension to the feel and sound of an artist traditionally known as an instrumentalist. She went on to join the group in performance at the Bowery Ballroom to celebrate the release of Hunter's album, singing More Than This and Day Is Done. A few weeks later, she performed in both vocal and instrumental capacities at the same venue with Hunter and pals. Her piano accompaniment sounded part of the organic whole, as if she'd always been part of the group. Her playing was neither fussy nor showy, demonstrating her willingness to serve the collective cause and reluctance to deflect attention from the main attraction. On the strength of the demo's EP and a live showcase, Norah was signed to Blue Note by Bruce Lundvall, the label president, in January 2001. He heard Norah's demo of Don't Know Why on the recommendation of Shel White and fell in love with her voice and sound immediately.
And at the same time, I was started my relationship with the record company, just talking to them. They started coming to my shows. At that same time, that's sort of when I started writing songs and started doing these other gigs with Jesse Harris and Lee Alexander, who are also songwriters on my album, and doing their songs. So that all happened simultaneously.
In May 2001, Norah Jones began work on her debut album. aided and abetted by her full-time band as well as a stellar cast of additional musicians, including contemporary jazz giants Brian Blade, Kenny Woolson and Bill Frisell. She headed into the Bearsville studio in Woodstock, New York. There, the musicians set down some preliminary tracks with producer Craig Street. In August, the group returned to the studio sessions, but this time at Sorcerer Sound Studio in Manhattan, New York. However, a new producer was recruited to the cause, none other than the legendary Arif Mardin. This was the man responsible for shaping some of the greatest popular music of the 20th century, having produced the likes of Aretha Franklin, Laura Nyro, Dusty Springfield, Roberta Flack, Donny Hathaway and Willie Nelson. At first, Norah was apprehensive about working with such a musical giant, wary that she might find it difficult to disagree with him purely because of the overpowering strength of his credentials. As it turned out, though, he was extremely laid back, gregarious and easy-tempered, open to the ideas of the musicians and sympathetic to Norah's vision. He kept Norah's act together and contributed excellent ideas, as well as absorbing the mentality of the greater whole. For the recording of Come Away With Me, the settled lineup of Norah, Riser, Levy and Harris was supplemented by guitarists Bill Frisell and Kevin Bright, Sticksman Brian Blade, violinist Jenny Scheinman, accordionist Rob Berger, Hammond B3 organist Sam Yarhel, and drummer Kenny Woolson. The adroit, understated, sensitive production was handled by Arif Mardin, with Norah and album engineer Jay Newland responsible for Don't Know Why and Turn Me On, with additional production by Mardin. Street weighed in with original production on the tracks 7 Years, The Long Day Is Over and Feeling the Same Way, with additional production by Norah and Jay Newland. The aim of the recording was to encompass Norah's breadth of influences, showcase her musical dexterity and establish her as a significant voice. Norah sought to make it a full summation of where she was coming from musically, so original material coexisted with jazz standards and tasteful covers. She felt very comfortable with all the musicians, to the extent that it was as if they were making the record in her own living room at home. There was no grand plan behind the project, no attempt to force a new sound or groundbreaking vision on an unsuspecting audience. Neither jazz nor pop, the music emanating from the sessions wove together different elements, but the songcraft remained the priority. Flowing with the elegance of a starry night, Norah delivered some goosebump-inducing performances, and her dexterity as a musician embodied soul and classy sophistication. Arif Mardin might be a seasoned veteran and knob twiddler to the great and the good, but he met his match in the form of Norah Jones, a self-assured young talent with an inner conviction unmatched by any of her musical contemporaries. The two bonded over their mutual love of classic songwriting and production from the 1960s and 1970s, with Norah giving him an insight into contemporary female singer-songwriter values. Her love of the music produced by Mardin in his red-hot phase and avowed respect for the musical traditions which spawned that made her an ideal collaborator. His instinctive feel for what sounds right on a record clearly paid huge dividends for Norah. At this stage of his long and illustrious career, Mardin could afford to pick and choose the artists he works with carefully. A few bars of Don't Know Why made it clear to him why he had to produce this young talent. The close-mic'd vocals, with no reverb or signal processing applied, reveal a unique song stylist at work.
We didn't try to make a crossover album, it just sort of came out that way. I was sort of torn about making a jazz record or doing what we had been doing, which was trying to write songs and, trying that out. Because I had done mostly jazz and it was Blue Note Records, but I just decided to do what I was doing instead, and that's how it came out.